And we are back with the author of the brand new book, Courage and Consequence, My Life as a Conservative in the Fight, the one and only Karl Rove. You have some nice things to say about Barack Obama, about the campaign, and you also compared it to John Lindsay's official slogan, I think you did at the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, he came off as a fresh and new and invigorating figure on the American political stage, a relentless centrist in the 2008 campaign.
Yeah, but now you had a little run-in at one point with then-Senator Obama.
Right.
About what he had quoted you as saying, which you said you didn't say.
Well, one day one of my aides came in, Barry Jackson, and said, you know, you're an audacity of hope. I said, no. He said, there was.
I'm in there too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Once I read the book, I figured out a lot of us are in there inappropriately. But he said that he accuses me of saying, quote, we are a Christian nation. Now, it's one thing to say that we derive much from the Judeo-Christian ethic, that we have the First Amendment protecting the free expression of religion, that we are a nation that prizes faith. But if you say we're a Christian nation, what happened to the Jews? What happened to the Muslims? What happened to the Sikhs? What happened to the non-believers? That's one of the great things about America. So I took the piece of paper, the Xerox of the page, and stuffed it in my pocket and forgot that Obama was coming to the White House later that day. We shared common friends, so that when he would come to the White House, we'd chit-chat about those common friends. And that particular day, I ran into him. I was going down to get a cup of coffee. He was arriving early for the meeting, so we ran into each other in the stairway and started to chit-chat. And after a few seconds, I said, hey, I understand you got me in your book. And he said, oh, I don't think so. And I said, no, I think you got me in your book saying we're a Christian nation. Where did I say that? He said, oh, no, I don't have you saying that. And I said, no, you got me in there with my name, the word to say, and something in quotes. They're going to think I said, oh, no, that's, now I remember, but that's not the implication of it. I said, really? That's not the implication of it? I pulled it out and held it up to him. And he blah, 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 blah. I ran into him. I figured out a year later that this was still on his mind, and I tell the story how I figured that out in the book. Yeah. But what's also interesting, and which I didn't confront him about that day, is he then goes on to say that people like me, and he uses my name again, are reminiscent of 60s styles radicals.
Yeah, you actually answered that. You said, well, the last time I checked, I hadn't bombed any government building like, say, Bill Ayers, or asked God to damn America, and declared that I was proud of my country for the first time. So you took him on in that response and reacted to it.
And what's an interesting look, it's not a big deal, but it is a sign that somebody who professes to be an apostle of a new style of politics that's not personal and nasty and vicious, turns around and easily smears people like this. I didn't know until the last couple of days that in 2006 he'd given a speech in which he accused me of being an anarchist. He said, Karl Rove doesn't believe in government. I mean, you know, look, at the time that he said that, I was working for the government. If I didn't believe in government, what the heck am I doing working for it? I mean, this is the kind of ease with which he says things that he knows aren't true.